happens next. So we are within the app, we are ready to start our travel. So the worker just needs to hit start travel. It brings up this screen so they can navigate with Google Maps if they want to. If they hit that, it brings up Google Maps. It will find the best route for them. This is probably going to be a very long drive. So we probably just won't go ahead with that. And what will happen, so now we've hit start travel. They can just skip navigation if they don't want to go down that route. We can see that in our schedule, this job has moved to a purple status. If we come in here, we can see it's en route. And if we have a look at the job and we come into our actual times, we can see the exact time that the worker has selected that they're going to start their travel and how far away from the job they are. So obviously it would be a little bit more of a reasonable distance, but this is, yeah, just your first timestamp for the job. Now, if we come back into here, so we are the worker, we have got to the job and we're ready to check in. So we've just pulled up, we're going to check in. And again, if I come back to my schedule, it doesn't actually change the color, it stays the same, doesn't it? Purpley color. Okay, and so now we are ready to start the job. So we're going to hit in progress. So now the job's in progress and the worker can do what they need to do. When we are in this job now, so if the worker wants to add a case note, they would come into, this note section here, and they could add we save that. That adds a case note. If I come into our client in Lumery, I refresh this. In our engagement, we can see that case note has been created and has updated onto, oh, no, sorry, I tell a lie, maybe it takes a minute to come through. Oh, this might be it here. Yeah, so here's our case note here. So that's popped through.
Amy, that earlier one is done by me just right now.
Yeah, no, that's good. Following along with, that's good. Okay, so that's how the case notes come through. And also you'll see up here within Lumery, you'll get a notification that a new note has been added to the job. At the moment, it's creating 2 notifications and we are fixing that. It is just, yeah, we're trying to figure out why it's doing that, but we will get that fixed for you. Okay, so I just need to remember to keep moving about a bit today. So now we're back in the schedule. If we click on the job and we view the job, and we click on our notes section, we can also see that case note has been added here as well. So 2 places that's gone for us. Let me bring up my screen. If the for completion notes, so completion notes are really notes that are just sort of stored within the job, so they're not as accessible. It's not necessarily a case note, but it's not also as accessible as a case note. So it would be just something, maybe if you know you locked the door on the way out or something like that. Like obviously that's probably not that relevant, but you would hit actions here and you would put, it's called note to office, and this is a completion note. Again, this is just sort of stored within the job. It's not as accessible. It's definitely not where you would want to put any case notes. Left the key in the box. We'll save that. It's asked us if we'd also like to complete this job because we've added in a completion note. I'm not going to right now because I'm still on the job. Okay, and so just coming down to the forms. So if we were to travel, take Mary to the shops, we want to record that, those kilometers. We would come into, sorry, let me just, what's this? We would come into our travel and transport here. We would hit this plus button and we would put in our kilometers. The kilometers are what's going to create, is what the service delivery record is created from, or the timestamp, sorry. So if someone does put in minutes or costs, that won't be considered. It'll just be the kilometers, which we've popped in at your rate, which I believe is 80 cents a kilometer. We could provide some details if we wanted to. This is just the important section here, is the vehicle. If we don't select a vehicle, this it won't basically create that record that we need it to. So we would just hit non-modified vehicle. I know it's a little bit unusual term, but that's just the important part that is selected. And then we have our last question: all charges for transporting the client during the appointment are to be apportioned to the client. So I'm going to hit yes, and I'm going to save that. So that has logged 5 kilometers against Mary to take her to the shops. Next thing we might want to do is log an incident. So again, this should be your incident. It will be your incident form. So I won't log one because yours is a little bit different. But yeah, we could come in here and we could log that. Once that's ready, you can jump in there and you can test that out. We've already had a look at our client details, so we don't need to add anything in here, nor can we. And service line items, we also cannot do. The section is there, but it won't let them select any categories or do anything like that. Okay, and now for our time sheeting purposes, we could set our awake duration and our break duration. I'm not going to for this one. And so that is a good chunk of the job. The next thing that we can do, is everyone okay with that? Anyone need me to go over anything else? Repeat anything? We're following along. Okay, great. So the next thing that we could do, also just something to note here, that we can see our time spent on the job. That's updated in real time. Obviously, I'm in a different time zone, so this notification wouldn't be there for your workers. We want to collect a signature from the participant to confirm that we have been there and that we have done everything. So we would select that little squiggle button, and then they're able to add a new signature and they can sign off. You would hit save. That's going to save as an attachment onto that job so that we can refer back to that if we need to. If we need to add multiple signatures, we can do that as well. If we wanted to add any sort of attachments, so we could hit this attachment, and from here we can actually take a picture. The Air Force there. Okay. And then that will also load in as an attachment onto the job. So now we have our signature, we have our attachment. If we just have a look at the job on the schedule, so I'm going to come back into this job and I look at attachments. These two have already popped in there, so we can see the signature and the photo. We can also see our actual times. So our times have been updated because we have checked in and we are in progress. So those two real timestamps have come in there. It took us 2 minutes, pretty quick to get there. And we're still waiting for the completion. Now, if I come into the job within Lumery, so we're looking at job 136, which is this one. Actually, that is the notes. So if I just come into jobs, 136, and I look at my related tab, you can also see that the signature and the picture have been loaded into the job within Lumery. So that's great. That's how we expect it to work. So come back in here and we want to hit complete job. We're ready to complete it. So we're going to do that. We're going to complete the job. Now, if I come into our schedule, this should have moved to green. So the job has moved to green. So that's been done. Okay, so I just want to show a couple of other things. So we have another job coming up, job 137. If sorry. I view this job and let's say we want to make sure that something is absolutely done on this job. So must take out bin. So I just sort of wanted to show you then, if I was to come into the mobile app, I'm going to click on that job. I'm going to start my travel. I'm going to skip navigation. Then I'm going to check in. I'm going to hit in progress and I'm going to complete that job. I've done it very fast, so it's telling me to slow down. Now I get this notification that there are incomplete tasks. So it's not going to let us complete this job, and the task sits sorry, the task should sit at the bottom of the job. There it is. So the task is sitting at the bottom of the job. So all the worker needs to do is acknowledge that they've done that task by selecting that checkbox. And now if we come up here, it's going to let us complete that job. So that's a really good function if there's something that absolutely must be done and you want to make sure that the worker does it before they leave, just to create that task, which is again on the job in the task section. This job's completed now, so we can't add any more tasks. Okay, does anyone have any questions on any of that?